in the area of governance and government, there's a couple of things which I think I would call them sleeper issues. Modern slavery and illegal logging. They're two issues which have been around a long time, and they're there in the background, and they're a little bit out of sight and out of mind. Now, I'll just start with illegal logging. Anything that's in the areas of cartons and paperboard, paper products, furniture, and pulp importers, and that's more so for things like paper mills and producers. But if you're an importer of paper and paperboard, if you bring in furniture and things like that, so in example, paper gaskets, that's how easy it is to have an issue with the illegal logging legislation. If you bring in cartons, if they're used as packaging, it's not an issue. But if you're bringing it in as a purchase, say, of 2,000 or 3,000 cardboard cartons as a commodity, then you're subject to the illegal logging legislation. In simple terms, what it means is the importer is supposed to have done enough due diligence with the people they're buying from that they actually know all the way through the supply chain to where the base timber product was sourced that started the process of producing the cardboard cartons, to use an example. If you haven't done that due diligence and if you fall foul of it, it has some big teeth. The illegal logging legislation commenced around 2012, and it's had a run for about the last 13, 14 years where there was a certain amount of tolerance and warnings and whatever else. Well, that's gone. They're now got the full tranche of the legislation in place, and if you fall foul of it, the full weight of the law is there waiting for you. And it's as I've said, it's been there since 2012, and it's a bit of a sleeper because people just don't think of it. You could have a product that's made, say, furniture that's made of MDF, which is medium density fibreboard or high density fibreboard, and you don't think of it really, oh, it's not made of solid timber, this is, particle board. No, you still have an obligation to find out where the base product come from, and that it was sourced from responsibly managed forests or from plantation timbers. You have to have done it, and you have to have records that you've done it. You need to show that you've got correspondence between yourself and the people that you're buying from overseas. You need to make sure that those documents are current. I would suggest every 2 or so years that you go through this process and just update what you've got. Generally speaking, if you've done the work to ask the question, document you've asked the question, and the people overseas said, yeah, we are compliant, we only buy our products, our base products, from those who supply from responsibly managed sources, and they put that in writing to you or something of that ilk. If you've done the work, then generally the government is going to take its line of inquiry away from you and back to the supplier overseas. But you've got to be able to prove it. So legal logging, it's a sleeper issue. It's there in the background. You should understand. I recommend that you Google it, look it up, understand what your obligations are. If you don't understand what it is, find out. It'll be worth the time to understand what your obligations are. There are 4 categories of managed products, which, as I've said, is paper and paperboard, paper pulp, paper products, and furniture. You're obligated to check with the people you're buying from that they have complied with the illegal logging legislation. But even if you've got products that fall outside that do have either components made from wood or are themselves made of wood and not recognised as such, you're still obligated to comply. So you need to have done the work, asked the question, get the answer. So would really recommend, if you feel you're not really up on that, it'll take you 20-30 minutes to get your head around the basics of it, and then check what your own business is up to in that area. I can't suggest any more strongly that if you're in that area and you don't really understand it, get to know about it. It could save you some grief down the track. The other one that I would bring to your attention is modern slavery. It's similar in a way to the illegal logging, that it's there in the background. People know the term modern slavery, and that's about it. Once again, that legislation is there. The full weight of the law is waiting for you, and you need to have done the same things. You need to have checked with the people you're dealing with overseas that they are compliant with the current legislation. There's a website, a government website, modernslavery.org.au, that you can check. Lots of information in there. Good starting point to understand. Make sure your business is compliant, especially if you should happen to be buying from places such as Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, those parts of the world. They're the areas that tend to see the most abuse. Africa. Have a think about what you're doing, but you shouldn't preclude anywhere though from in terms of an origin for modern slavery. You should be across what the requirements are. You should have asked the question, even if you think it's obvious that you don't think they would even remotely be needing to comply with the modern slavery. Ask the question. I always say, ask a question. Quite often you're surprised at the answer you get back. Ask the question, see what answer you get back. Once again, simple things could save you a lot of grief down the track. Not going to go into a great spiel of detail here, but that website for modern slavery, there's a fair bit of information there you can start with, get to understand your obligations and what it covers. And I once again spent a little bit of time on Google and get to know about it. Be aware of what your business obligations are, because it's out there. You can't avoid it. And if they ask questions and you've got no answers, then they're just going to proceed regardless of what else you say next. So recommend you try and do that. If you like these videos and you'd like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe and see what else we put online for you.